everybody, I hope you're doing well this weekend. This is Sunday, and we just released part 4 of the Oklahoma Bigfoot Wars, which is actually the full audio book of Codename Wild Hunt, Odin's Call, which is book 1 in a series of 3 right now. There's going to be another one. There's another one being written. And I thought it would be fun to get D.A Roberts, the author of all these books, on and talk to him. So I'm going to bring him in right now. We're just going to spend 15 or 30 minutes so you guys can get to know D.A and kind of find out what makes his weird, twisted mind work on some of these stories so that you can kind of get who he is. Hey, D.A, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. How you doing, brother?
I'm really appreciate you getting on with us today. We've released the audiobook for Wild Hunt Book 1, and we're halfway through, and we're going to release the next 4 over the next 4 days. I wanted to get you on and talk about that. Can you tell us how you came up with this idea for these series of stories, and what was the inspiration for all this? I know there are a bunch of books before this that include all these characters, but all of a sudden it changed to the military. Like a full-on Tom Clancy type military novel. How did you get there?
Well, I've been digging into cryptids since I was a kid, and I've wanted to be a writer, and I like writing fiction and horror style stories. But the more I dug into cryptid stories, the more I kept finding these accounts where people said, "Hey, this creature showed up, and it wasn't like an hour later. This military unit showed up and pushed everybody out and went after it." So there's dozens of stories out there like that, and I got to thinking, well, what if there really is a military unit out there that's doing this, that's hunting dangerous cryptids? And that led to the evolution of Codename Wild Hunt. When it came to creating the backstory, like the history of the unit and everything, I had help from a guy named Josh Dalton and my buddy Steve Monrotis. So we did the backstory and the history and created the unit. But when I explained to them the concept, I'm like, hey, I want this military unit that's what they do, is hunt these cryptids. And they both went wild with the idea. And we created the characters and set up the universe and just took these rumors, these stories about military units hunting creatures, and just created a team that did that. That's what they do.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're getting, as usual, now, I have to say, I'm pretty lucky. The people that follow my podcast, the Dixie Cryptid and What If It's True podcast, just happen to be the nicest people on the internet, and they're always so complimentary and encouraging to me. Matter of fact, this is a little side story, but about a week ago, I was talking to another author. Matter of fact, I sent you his email address. I think you guys are going to connect, but he actually called me yesterday, and he says, He goes, I'm reading through the comments on that interview you did with me. He said, I'm having trouble understanding how everyone is so nice that follows your channel. And I'm like, man, they're just the best people in the world. I don't know what it is, because the internet is eat up with just nasty, mean people. And we get a few of those comments, but so that being said, thank you to the audience for all the encouragement for D.A and me. All the work in that book was by him. All I did was read it, which is that's the easy part. But
you're being modest. Doing quality audio is a lot of work.
Well, but we are seeing really nice responses from people, and so my question is, the next book, which I already have narrated, and we're ready to release it on ACX. Are you thinking about maybe releasing the book 2, The Curse of the Wendigo, in this format as well?
Seeing the response from this one, like we were saying, we did Odin's Call, about a year ago, and it's done really well on ACX. But when I got to looking at the ACX numbers, I thought, you know what? There's a lot of people that are probably hesitant about getting this book because buying books through ACX ain't cheap. And I got to thinking, I did the prequel with you where we did this story about Bigfoot in Afghanistan, where it was William Gray Eagle, which is actually a precursor to this Wild Hunt series. We did that, and I saw how people reacted to that, and I thought, you know what, people really liked that short story, and it's getting a lot of feedback. And to me, it's all about sharing the writing with people. As a storyteller, that's all I ever really wanted to do was share my stories. And I thought, well, if we're going to do the audio, you and I have been friends for 3 or 4 years now, and I thought, well, Cam's got the perfect audience for this. I said, why don't we talk about this? And you said, hey, we could do it on, we could release them on the channel. I'm like, that is a freaking great idea. Let's put that out there and share these stories with people. And it's been great. I mean, it's not only is it getting more people to be able to hear the audio, which I think you did a fantastic job on, it's actually sending more people to the written books as well.
Yeah, I agree. And this, when you first release a book or an audio book, the first month it will be your highest per day sales. And then from there, it just kind of stalls out after about a year. And that's kind of typical for any audiobook or even in print, in the print books.
Yeah, you'll see a spike and then it levels back out.
However, Curse of the Wendigo has not been released anywhere, and DA is willing to give up those ACX sales so that you guys can listen to this stuff. And I just think it's so nice of him to do it. And I'm going to be sharing the revenue that comes off of YouTube with DA. So this helps us both. And if you guys, we haven't decided exactly when we're going to release it. Hell, we hadn't even got all the way through Odin's Call yet, but probably in October, maybe around Thanksgiving would be a good time. Not Thanksgiving, Halloween would be a good time to release that. But you guys share those videos with buddies and friends who you think might like this kind of stuff, and those kind of things, it doesn't cost you a penny. All you have to do is click the play button and listen to an ad every 15 or 30 minutes, and it's all free to you. But you get it for free, and hopefully the advertisers pay DA and I. Let's let YouTube pay us and let the podcasters pay us. So we go from Odin's Call, which is playing now, then we go Curse of the Wendigo, and then we've got Blood Eagle, which I've read, and I am about to start narrating that one. For whatever reason, and I just told DA this, it's my favorite of the series. It's this weird, there's a creature in it that I've never even thought about, never heard of, and it's full out war, and Team Odin goes fully international on this one, and now you've got another one that you're planning on writing after you release your sci-fi. Let's talk about your very next book that's coming out.
Oh, the one I've just finished. It's in edits. It's a continuation of my SciFi series with kind of an offshoot series. It's going to be called Man's Marauders: A Planet Too Far. It's going to be the Man's Marauders series, and it's about a group of mercenary military unit that basically travels from planet to planet fighting battles. But it's a really great group of characters. We've got some fantastic artwork we've had done for it. That book is in edits right now, and hopefully we'll have some release information on it here in the next few days. I've got to finish up the back cover, finalize the cover, get the edits finished, do the layouts and formatting, and then we'll be looking at a release on that. But since I do all of that myself, other than the cover, it's really at my pacing. So hopefully we'll have some release information on it really soon. But the next project after that, as soon as that one's released, actually I've already started the outline and plotting of the book, is the next Codename Wild Hunt book. It's going to be called Codename Wild Hunt: Death in Dyatlov Bass, and it continues with the international theme.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, as far as your sci-fi series, are there books previously published in that series?
Yeah, there's 2 books. The first one's called Lost Legion: Perdition's Flames, and the second one is Lost Legion: Blood and Honor. And it follows a military unit that's a set in the future, 500 years in the future, but they're based on the Roman Legion, and they're drop troopers. They drop these guys in from orbit.
Okay. So if you're interested in sci-fi, you can go to Amazon and read those 2 books before this 3rd book comes out. Then we've got a 4th Wild Hunt book coming out. That's exciting. But prior to the Wild Hunt books, you've got how did that series of stories set up? How many of do you have, about 10 or 12?
Well, all told, I've got 20. This sci-fi will be 27 books in print. 10 of those right off the bat are the Ragnarok series, which are kind of their own thing, but they do connect in a way. Trust me. The SciFi series, which also connects in a way, I've got 2 of those. So with 27, that's what, 13? No. 14 other books, 15 books. Sorry, my math sucks. That's 15 other books that were primarily about cryptids. I've got the Apex Predator series, the Lakeview Man series. Apex Predator's got 5 books in it. Lakeview's got 3 so far. These series are all continuing. I'm going to keep writing them. The Nightmare Hunter series, which is also still continuing, but it's only got 1 book in that series out, plus the Codename Wild Hunt series, and another series that's in the works that we kind of have just started developing is going to be an offshoot of Codename Wild Hunt. It's called Project Olympus, and it's basically Wild Hunt in space.
Oh, wow. So you can go back, if you like this creature type story, you can go to all of his Apex Predator books, all of his Lakeview Man books, and you don't have to read necessarily one right after another. Can you jump in right in the middle and then go back to the beginning? And
all of the books will stand alone. There will be references to things that happened in the past. And if somebody says something, like if they reference something that happened, I'll put a footnote at the bottom of the page that says see events in whatever book. But if you go to my website, which is DARoberts.net, at the top of the page, you'll see a tab that says timeline. And when you click on the timeline, it will show you the order of the books where the story makes the most sense, because they're all interconnected.
It amazes me. You're the only fiction writer I know that uses footnotes.
Well, I throw stuff in there that not everybody knows. I mean, there's cop terminology, there's military terminology, and then occasionally foreign language terminology. I'll throw something in. I'm like, hey, maybe somebody might not know what that means, so I'll tab a footnote, put it at the bottom so they can check it out.
Yeah. There's this website scrolling across the D.A Roberts. I spelled that right, didn't I? Yeah.
Yes, you did, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't want to just wear you out this afternoon, but I wanted to get on and talk. And is there something we haven't covered? Like I said, we're right in the middle of releasing this audiobook. Nobody releases audiobooks on YouTube. Nobody does that. And again, I just think it's so nice that DA decided to do this, and I'm so happy to do it, actually. And but is there something we haven't covered any plans you have coming up, anything going on you want to talk about?
I've got 2 or 3 convention appearances in the near future. There's one, it's going to be called Fall into the Supernatural in Lexington, Missouri, the 22nd, 23rd of this month. And there's going to be a Bigfoot bonfire where we're going to try to call one in, and there's a supernatural hunt, and I'll have books there to sign. I'm also planning on being at Archon in St. Louis, and that's the last weekend in September leading into the first weekend of October. And then I have an appearance the week following that, 2 weeks after that one, here in Springfield, Missouri, and it's going to be called the Springfield Gaming Arts Media Expo, and we'll have books there at that one as well. But we're planning more convention appearances. I've got a ton of books planned. I've got notes for the next 25 books easily.
Yeah, you sent me a list of I'm looking at all the books that I've seen of yours and I've read of yours, and then it gets to the point where it's at the end, and then there's like 10 or 12 below that. I'm like, those are books you have planned out.
Yeah, I keep constantly adding to that list. I've got a couple of friends, Norman Meredith and Josh Dalton. We'll start conversations, and they'll be like, hey, this would be a great idea for a book. And I'm like, crap, all right, get the list out and add another one to it. Like, you guys are just making more work for me. You guys know that, right?
I was talking to, I was telling you, I talked to Jeff Crawford the other day. He's a good author just like you. I think he's got 20-something books out. He just got picked up by a publisher, Raventail Publishing. I was telling him after we were finished with the interview, he and I were just talking, and I told him the story. I don't know how I got into it, but I told him the story about my grandfather. My grandfather, his father, which would be my great-grandfather, when my grandfather was young, they were working. They lived on a farm in Middle Tennessee, and they were out working, doing something, fixing a fence, or they had quite a bit of land, and they had cows and pigs and all that stuff. And my grandfather was a young boy. He was maybe 10 or 12, and it was not uncommon to see people riding horses then at all. And this was in the early 1900s. But here comes this guy riding over the hills and down through the valleys and up through the hill. And they could see him from a long way off. And my great-grandfather said to my grandfather, he said, go to the house and tell your mother that my brother's here. And my grandfather knew that my great-grandfather had 3 or 4 brothers, but he didn't know he didn't recognize this one. This man comes riding up, and he says, yep, it's my brother. He ties his horse to the porch. He stays a day, and they all explained that, said, this is my brother. He left home when he was 15, and he went out west to work cattle. He was an older man at that time. He went west to work cattle and be a cowboy and all. They never saw him again until that day. He just showed back up. His parents had died. He wasn't there, all this stuff. And my grandfather said the next day he got on his horse, said goodbye to everybody, and rode away, and they never saw him again.
How did he know it was him?
He recognized him. I mean, it was his brother. He knew it was his brother, and the guy knew all about, their family and all this stuff. And he had ridden all the way back to catch up on the family and all that stuff. Anyway, talking about stories, I told Jeff Crawford, I said, now that's a story. He goes, that's a whole damn novel right there. He said, that's a whole novel right there. And we were thinking about McMurdy and some of those Western writers. What a great story that would be. And so, yes, I get all that to say. I get stories can come from anywhere. And 3 guys talking, I just told that story. Somebody might write that novel. Somebody might be listening and write that novel. And
that's exactly how my Ragnarok series started. I was still a deputy at the time, and one midnight shift with absolutely nothing going on. 3 or 4 of us got together for coffee, and somebody mentioned old zombie movies, so we got to talking about zombies. And one of the guys, a guy named Chris Sowards, goes, well, what would we do if zombies really attacked Springfield? And we're like, yeah, whatever. He goes, no, seriously, what would we do if zombies attacked? So we started talking about emergency management plans and how we were under-equipped to deal with something like that. And the next morning when I was going home, I'm driving down the street and I'm looking at buildings and cars going, could we defend that? How would we modify that car? I got home, couldn't sleep, started making notes, and that was the Ragnarok series.
I love zombie novels. I bet I've read 40 of them. Especially back when they were really super popular with The Walking Dead and World War Z, but people still write them. I mean, there's hundreds of them out there, and yours are particularly good. I mean, I really like them because it's local, it's what you know, and the way things move around and the way things happen are real interesting. And there's something strangely comforting about zombie novels. I don't know why that is for me, but do you ever read anything that shouldn't be kind of a comfort read, but it is for you? I mean,
I've got lots of books that are like that. There's one book in particular that I have read. Excuse me. I've read probably 1,000 times over the years, and it's an old Jack Higgins novel called A Prayer for the Dying. And I love Jack Higgins, great writer. Did a lot of books set like during World War II.
World War II. I've read some of his stuff.
Great books, but A Prayer for the Dying just gets me every time. I've probably owned 30 copies of that book over the years, and I'll loan it out to somebody and forget who I gave it to. I'm like, oh, well, they'll love that book as much as I did. I'll go get another copy. I may have 2 or 3 copies of it around the house. I don't know, but that's one book that I will just go back and read over again. And another one is an old Star Trek novel by John M. Ford called God dang it, I completely forgot what that was called.
Yeah, but you know where the book is, don't you, on your shelf?
I know right where the book is. It's a Klingon novel, and it's set before the Federation was even, very large. It was back before the days of Captain Kirk. And I just love that book. I've read it over and over again.
Yeah. There's a bunch like that I really like. All right, we're 22 minutes into it. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to go ride my motorcycle for a couple hours and spend the rest of the day with my wife. We've got a date night tonight. We're going to get pizza, and she's rented a movie on Amazon, and I got to be there. I can't miss it.
Can't miss that. I think I'm going to enjoy the day and go throw some chicken on a barbecue grill.
That's nice, man. Well, listen. Well, thanks for doing this, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I call it the Oklahoma Bigfoot Wars because you have to give it a title on YouTube that'll kind of catch people's eyes. But it is the audio book of the Codename Wild Hunt. It's book 1, Odin's Call. We're halfway uploaded right now. The next 3 or 4 episodes will be, I think there's 4 more will be uploaded in the next 4 days. Want you guys to enjoy it. It's going to be in a playlist all by itself, so if you want to go back and listen to it, or you're hearing this interview a year from now, we're in September of 2022, you can go to the Wild Hunt series and just click the playlist and you can listen to the whole book all the way through. D.A., thanks for letting us do that, and thanks for appearing here with us and talking to us. All right, we'll see you guys on the next one, and part 5 will drop tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Go listen to it. All right, we'll see you guys on the next podcast. Thanks.